What sandpaper grit is best for different wood projects? Imagine transforming a rough piece of reclaimed wood into a smooth, beautiful finish. The secret lies in choosing the right sandpaper grit for each step. Sanding is a key part of any upcycling craft, helping you remove old paint, smooth out rough surfaces, and prepare wood for a new coat of stain or paint. But not all sandpapers are the same. They come in different grits, which are numbers that tell you how coarse or fine the abrasive particles are. Lower numbers mean coarser grit, perfect for heavy-duty work, while higher numbers are finer and better for finishing touches. When you start a project with reclaimed or old wood, you usually need to remove layers of paint, varnish, or rough patches. For this, grab a coarse grit sandpaper, around 40 to 60 grit. This will strip away old finishes and shape the wood. It's great for getting rid of large imperfections or rough edges on upcycled pieces. Once you've removed the bulk of the rough stuff, switch to a medium grit, about 80 to 120 grit. This helps smooth out scratches left by the coarse grit and prepares the surface for finer sanding. It's perfect for blending out uneven spots on reclaimed wood, making it ready for staining or painting. Next, move on to fine grit sandpaper, typically 150 to 220 grit. This stage is all about creating a smooth, even surface. If you are working with open-grain woods like oak or ash, start at 120 grit and work your way up to 150 or 180 grit before applying any stain. For closed-grain woods like maple or cherry, beginning at 150 grit and finishing at 220 grit gives you a sleek surface that's ready for finishing. For the final step, especially between coats of paint or sealant, use very fine grit sandpaper from 220 to 320 grit. This helps smooth the surface without removing too much material. Be cautious not to oversand, as a surface that is too smooth might not hold stain or paint well. If you want a polished look, you can go even finer, using grit from 320 to 2000 grit, but that's usually for special finishing touches, not everyday upcycling projects. When working on recycled wood, always start with coarse grit to remove old paint or rough patches. Then, move to medium grit to smooth out the surface. Finish with fine grit to prepare for your final coat. Remember to change your sandpaper when it gets clogged or worn out to keep your sanding even. Also, consider the type of wood you're working with. Open-grain woods need a slightly coarser grit to open the pores, while closed-grain woods need finer grit to avoid scratches. Whether you're sanding by hand or with a power sander, these tips will help you get a smooth, professional finish on your upcycled projects.